Okay, our second card is going to be using this gorgeous piece of paper. This is from the Feels Like Frost paper collection, and we're going to make a couple of cuts. The first cut that we're going to make is at approximately 4 1/4 inches. And we're just going to slice across the bottom. And I am going to cut this at about 2 3/4 inches because I want to make sure that this pine tree is in the paper. And we're going to set this piece aside. We're not going to use this piece. Now this piece here is going to be in the middle of our frame. So we can set this aside for a second and work on the card base. I have a piece of Seaside Spray, and this is cut to 4 by 5.5 inches. I also have 2 little strips that are 1/4 inch wide of the silver foil paper, and these are 1/4 inch by 5.5 inches. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we are going to adhere these down. And they just go on the outside edge of your paper, just like that. Now this is a piece of Whisper White cardstock that is scored here at 5.5 inches by 4 1/4. And while we're working on the next piece, I'm going to set this aside to dry. Okay, now this is our piece of Seaside Spray paper, and I am going to use this die. These are from the Stitched Rectangles die, and this is the 4th smallest, or 4th from the largest die. And I am going to position it centered left and right, but not top to bottom, because I want a little extra strip down here, which is where our sentiment's going to go. So I do want to make sure I have enough space down there. So I'm going to, this is maybe 1/2 inch up here at the top, and then it is centered side to side. And I'm going to tape that down and then run it through my die cutting machine, and I will be right back. Okay, for the big reveal, we have this beautiful stitched edging all around. We can set this piece aside. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to align this and glue this on the back so that I have my beautiful tree here showing. So I'm just going to put glue all around the edge here on the back side, and that way I know for sure exactly where it needs to be glued. And then when I line this up on the front, I don't have to worry about it. And I do want to line it up so that there is enough of the blue border down below here showing. Okay, while that's drying, we can work on our sentiment. We are going to use the Merry Christmas, and that is from this Cherish the Season set. If you watched my first video, you know that the poinsettia petals has a much, much larger sentiment on it. And they look very similar. This one's just a lot smaller and a little bit more user-friendly for a portrait-sized card. So I'm going to put this down in here. Run my powder tool all over it because we are going to silver emboss this. And that is why I'm using my stamp positioning tool, because if you watched the first video, you saw that I also used this stamp and silver embossed the first two cards. This piece of paper is cut to 3 by 3/4 of an inch. And we're going to leave this for a minute to cool off because I am going to run this through the punch. And I don't want to mess up the hot embossing powder. While that's cooling off, we can now assemble the rest of our card. And for this, I am going to use that flat tip on my glue stick here. And we're going to glue this down and really give it a lot of glue to make sure that it adheres everywhere. Now, there is a little bit of overlap onto the silver, so I am going to run a little bead of glue around the edges of the card here to make sure that it adheres onto the silver paper that we put down earlier. Okay, the last thing that we're going to do is we are going to take our punch, and this is cut to 3/4 of an inch, and we're going to use the curvy punch here. And just slide that in. Making sure from the back that it is centered and seated. There is our beautiful Merry Christmas sentiment. Keeping this card nice and flat so it can go through the postal system, I'm just going to run some glue on the back of this one. And I am going to center that right in the middle here. There is our second card. Now we got one more to go.